That's tough. A lot of, I saw a lot of smaller shows out in Brooklyn. I mean, Fort Hamilton Battle of the Bands. There was Friends and Hardcore Bands doing that. I saw a Friends band at a Mexican restaurant on 4th Avenue in Park Slope. But the first one that really kind of grabbed me was, I guess it had to be, it was 2 nights of Venom at the old Ritz, those famous shows. I was really trying to get tickets for the first night for Carnivore. Big Carnivore fan. But it was the second night that I went. And, very aware of who the Cro-Mags were and what it was. The album had come out. I had like my little cassette copy of that, like, trading tapes, with everybody. I knew the songs, I knew the band. And so I go and, of course, I'm a metalhead at the time. Full hair, full regalia, Voivod, boom, wow. But it was really, and I know I've watched a couple of these. A lot of people say the same things about the Cro-Mags in '86. There was something to be said about just the energy in the room prior to any song starting. And songs hands down flawless, but it was the fire and the energy that these young dudes really kind of owned, and they came on and changed everybody's life in the room. So honestly, I'm gonna have to go with Venom and Cro-Mags at the old Ritz, '86. Obviously, everybody's go-to is CB's. I mean, there's so many memories, so many friends, so many shows. But I lived in a small little pocket of Brooklyn, Park Slope, and blocks away from my house was Animal Hall. So, violence aside, and you're talking about a time period where, this is before anything really, they didn't move across the street yet. So this was still the single freight storage space. It was very narrow, plywood bar in the front, coffin with tall boys for sale up front, and a stage with the shitty PA with milk cartons. So with that club, I met a lot of people I'm still friends with. I saw a lot of bands for the first time there. And then they moved across the street, which there was still a lot more, great shows. Because I met so many people back then and saw a lot of bands and just a lot of music for the first time there, I'm gonna say the Animal Hall in Brooklyn. All right, so I'll paint a quick picture. So here I'm coming in from Brooklyn with a bunch of people, kind of like on the tail end of, the 80s movement, 86, 87. So by the time we were going to shows, there was that many more people. The classy kind of, you know, uh, moves of, Carl and John, I think we were the guys after them. So it was definitely, we were already on fire. We were revved up from these records and these demos. We were already so I would show up with a group of guys, from Brooklyn, and they were pretty violent. A lot of people don't talk about these two, Hector and Edwin, the twins. I mean, these guys were, you know, did they have a certain style to them? No, but my God, they made a show. I'm gonna have to lean toward Saab and Minus. These are guys I grew up with, I came in with, but ultimately it would be Saab who would take the cake just from his theatrics. I'd have to say, every time I see footage of early 80s A7 shows, DOA, Minor Threat, anything like that, I wish, I could have been there. I mean, the 82 footage of the Bad Brains at CB's. Honestly, I'd have to say, on top of all of that, I wish I had tickets to The Clash at Shea instead of tickets to Priest and Maiden at the Garden. So the overall vibe of the Cro-Mags were it. And like I said before, the Venom show was, that kind of left an impact on me. But I have to say, as a guitar player, the one show that really kind of grabbed me was Leeway at 1018. You're talking to a guitar player that's admiring these two guys that had a chemistry together that killed people. That was the show that really sticks out in my mind. Is they opened for the Bad Brains, but it was Leeway at 10:18.
Brooklyn or Queens?
Brooklyn born. I never, I never really waved the Brooklyn flag. It was more of like, the second my mother didn't find out I was leaving the borough. I was in Manhattan. It was a New York thing, I really didn't, wave the borough flag, which is fine. I just, to this day, I'm in a New York band, you know what I mean? So well, after, my Blackmore Shanker years, you're talking? Okay. There's a lot, man. I mean, early 80s before anything, I was really, I was getting all the Combat records and, I was digging Anthony Bamonte from Nuclear Assault, great guitar player. Keith Alexander from Carnivore, amazing guy. You can go down the list. Tommy Victor from Prong. But I'm gonna, obviously, you get Dr. No covering so much ground. I'd have to say Dr. No. There's not one. Look, listen, you're talking to a Brooklyn guy. There's Rays and everything, but there's Elegante in Bay Ridge. There's quite a few in Bay Ridge. There's Tutonos out in Coney Island. You want to go on? There's DeMarco on Avenue J and East 15th Street. Where else are we going? Pizza Wagon, Bay Ridge. You know what I mean?
Represent.
You know what I mean? We got enough time? My school friend, Social Disorder. Here's a band that came out with 2 demos and a 7-inch. Never really got their due. Played a lot of key shows. There's not so much hardcore, but an older 80s thrash band from Brooklyn, First Order. Groundbreaking, way ahead of their time. Honestly, really, for Brooklyn, for me, was always Carnivore. I mean, obviously not, unsung, seen their day, very powerful at their peak, but it was always really Carnivore for me. Absolutely not. Has it changed? Absolutely. It's evolved. The world's evolved. It's a different place than the 80s. But as long as there's anger and people and kids that are pissed off about their situations and what goes on around them, there's always going to be hardcore music.